Hey guys, my name is Advait and I'm the founder of Kazob. What we do is we interview different career professionals and like kind of get an understanding of what they do on a day-to-day basis and basically about the story about their career path. So today we have oh, and one more thing. If you all have any questions, please keep sending them in. There's a ask a question button, I think, on the window. So please ask your questions there and keep sending them in. The other thing is that I would just like to make it clear that that like what information we are sharing here is very subjective. So if you need help in taking some real big decisions like visa work and stuff, that we suggest you should go to some professional. Okay, so yeah, so uh, let's start. So Abhishek and Anurag, can you introduce yourselves?
Yeah. Hey guys, thank you for coming in. I am Abhishek. I completed my master's from North Carolina State University in Integrated Manufacturing Systems Engineering in 2013. Before that, I completed my bachelor's in production engineering from Father Agnell Bandra. I worked in US in the process improvement supply chain side for a couple of years, and I just moved back to India for good.
Okay.
Hey guys,
And
go ahead. Hey guys, Anurag
yes,
Lam here. I did my bachelor's in production engineering from Father Agnell Bandra, passed out in 2011. Went straight for my master's in North Carolina State University for industrial and systems engineering. I passed out in 2013. Have been working for 2 years now. A year with Caterpillar and the other with Siva Logistics. I did some logistics work with Caterpillar and currently into process engineering and capacity and labor planning with the current company that I'm working, that is Siva Logistics.
okay. So how did you guys decide to, after production engineering, how did you zero on in doing a master's in industrial engineering?
So, when like during our coursework in production engineering, there were a couple of courses like the operations management course, the operations research course, production and operation management course, operations research course. I really liked both the courses. I was interested in knowing more about the course, and in my last semester during my bachelor's, I was doing my implant training with Larsen and Toubro L&T,
Okay.
and there I really didn't enjoy the work that I was doing with L&T. I had an offer from L&T, but I was not sure about the work and I didn't want to. So one of the reasons was I was not liking the job that I was doing during my implant training with L&T.
Okay.
So one of the reasons was this, and the other reason was both that courses. I wanted to know more about this, and there were plenty of options available in US in different fields. Within these two options, where you want to go, how you want to proceed. So that was the reason I decided I want to go straight for my master's after bachelor's.
Okay. Okay. And what about you, Anurag?
I did my internship in Godrej and Boys Manufacturing Limited. Did a lot of process improvement work for 6 months, and I got placed with Godrej in procurement department. Didn't want to pigeonhole myself, didn't because that was a career path I didn't want to go. Plus, I wanted more expertise on the area of supply chain itself. And what I realized in my 6 months that I was not completely prepared, or I didn't know for that matter what was out there in the field of supply chain other than being just process improvement. So
Okay. Okay. So Abhishek, you spoke about you studying operations management in India and then going and studying the same thing or like something similar but more advanced level in the
Yes.
US. How was the teaching method different in India and the US?
So in India, like everyone knows, we still learn all the textbooks and everything. It's still 20 years behind what industry is currently doing. Like we are still in
Okay.
that phase. The books are not updated. The way we are taught, it's more like more stress is given on final exams. Like you score well, so most of the students, most of us, we start targeting, okay, we want to clear the exams, we want to pass
Mhm.
out with good grades, and that is where
Yeah.
we concentrate instead of learning more about the course, enjoying the course throughout the semester. What we do
Right.
is we refer to past papers, we know these questions might come, we prepare for the exam, we give away. As
Mhm.
compared to this, going back to US, it's completely different. It's very practical. You do around couple of projects, good industrial projects, good academic projects during the coursework throughout the entire semester. Now, every assignment that you do counts towards your final grade, and all the
Okay.
assignment are more like real life questions. So it
Okay.
becomes more fun. You start applying the things that you have learned here. You start applying them in your assignments, in your exams, and everything. So you get to learn the practical part with the theoretical part. So that's the best part about getting the education there.
Okay. And Anurag, would you like to add to that in any way?
Yeah, two things. One, we have a not so flexible, let's say rigid work course in our bachelor's, right? When you do your masters, you can pick and choose what your likings are and what the industry currently is hiring for, right? A practical approach as well as an approach where you want to do what you want to do.
Okay.
And secondly, you get the liberty of choosing subjects which offer you exposure on projects working with real companies, as in companies which you hear every day, right? So I worked on a project for 6 months with Caterpillar Inc., and
Okay.
which actually like throws you completely into the real world and out of your textbooks.
Right.
So it was of great help.
Okay.
I would just
Okay.
like
Okay.
to add here,
Yeah.
when you're talking about, so I went for integrated manufacturing systems engineering. Along
Okay.
with that, I was interested towards data analytics, and I wanted to have some kind of management exposure. So there
Okay.
the coursework was so flexible that with my industrial engineering course, I took up couple of statistic courses and 3 courses from the MBA school. So I was able to do what I wanted to do.
Great, great, great. Okay, so you guys, like you had some real world experience while you were still in college through projects. Okay, and then you guys working. So, Anurag, can you like talk about? Can you just remind the people what your job profile is, because some people joined in a bit later also. So, like, can you just remind them what your job profile is, and then you can elaborate by talking about what you do on a day-to-day basis, what kind of problems you solve, etc.
So I work for a logistics company. Now this is contract logistics. It's different from transport logistics. What we do is we take contracts from original equipment manufacturers and make sure that we help them source to the give it to the final customer from the OEM. Right. I work at a distribution center in Nashville, USA, and part of my job is a process engineer where I do layouts, change processes, make sure everything is flowing right, flowing
Okay.
fast,
Okay.
and
Okay. So,
and
like, um, when you say flowing fast, you're talking about you're making sure that the warehouse is able to meet the service levels of the company.
yes.
Okay. Okay. So, like, like, what does your work involve? Like, I get what your goal at your job is, but like, what do you actually do on a day-to-day basis? Do you use some softwares? Do you use some analytical tools? Can you talk about that?
So you have your basic ERP systems. They might be legacy old systems or SAP or Oracle. So in the place where I work, we use old legacy systems. What we do is it's an electronics contract. So
Okay.
we have to make sure that the product that has the customer has requested reaches on time or on the same time which the manufacturer has promised on. So, for example,
Right.
if you buy a printer or if you buy a laptop, you get an estimated date, right? So, I work in a similar field where we make sure that everything is processed right from manufacturer to whatever your specifications are, and then we ship it out. And that process has to be smooth. Otherwise, that's where you get your delays in shipments and otherwise issues with whatever you've ordered. So every single day, as in I'd come in, make sure if there is, I work on the engineering side. So if there are new processes put in, for example, in US, Black Friday or Thanksgiving is the peak season where people order a lot of electronics. So we make sure our processes are fine-tuned to a level where it can handle that kind of capacity. And that's a part of what we do. And part of what I do is make sure that we convey to the manufacturer that this is the price that we will charge you, so that we are able to effectively process or deliver on your promises to the customer.
Okay, your voice was cracking. I think there was a problem with the voice. Can you just check? Can you just speak something? Let me see if I can hear you without disturbance.
Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? Hey, can you hear us now?
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So were you kind of done talking about what you do on a day-to-day basis, because I couldn't hear you because of
yeah, so I just
internet.
said that apart from process engineering, that to handle capacity, that's what I do. I would go make sure that we deliver on the manufacturer's promise to the customer that something is going to be shipped or whatever they are gets shipped on the right time. Secondly, second part of my job is to make sure that we price our labor, our processes right to the customer, because as a logistics company, we work on thin margins. So we make sure that we we price it right to the customer. The manufacturer.
Okay. So Abhishek, do you want to elaborate on what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yes. So I work as a process engineer with a company called Coty. Now, Coty is into manufacturing of all perfumes and nail paints, all the boutique products. So I work as a process engineer with their fragrance department. Now, fragrance department has 13 different manufacturing lines. We produce around 10 million units every month. And there are around 5,000 different SKUs, different types of products that we manufacture out in the manufacturing floor. Being a process engineer, my day-to-day work is 60% of my time I spend on day-to-day activities, and 40% of the time I work on continuous improvement projects. Like being a process engineer, that's our role, where we do capital projects, we do capacity planning, we do budgets. Coty went live with SAP when I started working with them. So I was taking care of the SAP transition process, like from Oracle to SAP, I was taking care of that.
Okay. So for those, there might be some viewers who don't know what SAP is. So can you just?
So SAP is kind of a ERP system, and this system is used by company to process everything. So all the departments within the company, like whether it's a planning department, finance department, manufacturing department, everything, all the data is fed into this system, and it's pretty easy to use. Like you can imagine how a big Excel spreadsheet on a shop floor will look when you enter data. It's too complicated. So just to make it easy, ERP system is a simplified form for all the data entry and processing everything.
Okay, so basically, it basically connects the entire supply chain together. It facilitates the transfer of data all across the supply chain.
Yes.
Okay. Great. So, say. Go on.
So I mentioned about my 40% of the day. So I work on continuous improvement projects. Rest 60% now. I am completely responsible for, out of 13 manufacturing lines, I'm completely responsible for 4 manufacturing lines. When I say I'm completely responsible for 4 manufacturing lines, so to plan all the lines, make sure all the scheduling is done right. When I say planning all the lines, I mean that, okay, I am going to run this 5 particular products on this line today. And now every product requires different kind of manning. So I need to make sure I have the available manpower at the right time, at the right place to run all these products with good quality and at a minimal cost. So doing this and also adhering to the key performance indicators. So making sure that we are running the products and the business is making money out of it with a good quality of product. Customers are satisfied with the product and business is in profit.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to stop you guys because I just want to remind the viewers that they are getting the feed of like a few seconds later. So like if they have any questions, they should like they should start typing them as and when they come up to them. And okay, we have our first question. Okay, so um, okay, so this person's asking that he came in a bit late, so he does not. Okay, this is Brijesh Pujari who's asking that he came in a bit late, so he does not know if you already mentioned this. Can you please tell us which college you went to? Okay, so both these guys are from Father Agner and Bandra. Okay,
Yeah.
so okay,
Yeah. And we
go on.
Yeah, and we went for our masters to North Carolina State University. Anurag finished his masters in industrial and systems engineering. I finished my masters in integrated manufacturing systems engineering. These
Okay.
are same fields. It's basically the same, just a coursework varies a bit in both the courses. Like it's in core the industrial engineering course.
Okay, okay, okay. So, Abhishek, you spoke about continuous improvement.
Yes.
Can you give a few examples of like of of anything that you actually improved upon?
Yes. So uh, I don't know. So I don't know if everyone knows about how a changeover process looks like in this consumer good industry. So when I talk about changeover process,
Hmm.
changing over is basically when you are running. Suppose you are running product A, and now next you want to run product B. I'm working with a fragrance department. Everything changes. The bottle changes. The cap changes. The juice inside the bottle changes. Everything. So all this process comes within changeover. Now, a changeover time is defined as the time when you run your last product of the last queue and when you produce a good quality first product of the first queue. So our major downtime on the manufacturing floor was the changeover category. We were incurring around a 20% loss in our downtime. So when I say 20%, if we are running the floor for 100 minutes, 20 minutes of that time we were down because of the changeover. Now in the peak season, this problem is very big because we run around 20 to 21 SKUs throughout 24 hours. That is around 7 to 8 SKUs in one shift.
Okay.
So what we did here was we streamlined this entire process, learned about the changeover, the current changeover process, divided the process into two separate categories. The steps that are done during changeover and the steps that can be done before changeover. Like there are many things, the tools can be brought to the line before changeover. All the materials can be brought to the line before changeover. So for this, you need not wait for the changeover to happen. You can
Okay.
make sure that this can be done before that. And also a lot of time, the major delay in changeover was we used to wait a lot on warehouse for transferring the materials for the next job. So we
Okay.
just created a flag system for this, which is like a traffic signal. Now, if it's red, you know that the line is down because they are waiting on materials. If it's yellow, you know that the line will be going down in 30 minutes. They are waiting on materials. If it's green, you know that all the materials have been delivered. So it was a simple flag system like our traffic signal system that was used, and from 20% the downtime went to 12%. Still, there were things
Okay.
that can be done. We were not at a stage where this is completely streamlined, but there was a
Mhm.
huge improvement here.
Okay, okay. Anurag, you spoke about how you try to optimize the distribution center. So can you give an example in brief? Like say for example, what the problem was and what you did to solve the problem and what the outcome was?
Okay, so for example, at a distribution center that I work in, you get equipment from various other manufacturers from China, Malaysia, basically the Southeast Asia region or the East Asia region. What happens is there are different standards on how these products come to us. However, when we say example ship it to say a Walmart or a Best Buy, they have certain specifications that we need to stack those products in. So, for example, if you have 40 printers on a pallet coming to us, right? And
When you say palette, what do you mean?
a pallet is a 48 by 48 or 42 by 48. These are the general standards in the industry. It's a wooden pallet with recesses on the bottom so that a forklift truck can come underneath, lift the whole pallet. So what happens is you do not damage the product if you're trying to lift the product itself because it's on a pallet, wooden pallet. And plus it's easy to store and easy to take it out. So what I'm alluding to is what happens at a distribution center. If you have products from 10 different manufacturers, they might not conform to the US standards, right? So some might get 30 pallets, 30 products on a pallet, some might have 40 products on a pallet. And we have to make sure that we ship it in a standard pallet quantity as the final destination. For example, a Best Buy or a Walmart. So what we do is either we ask the OEM to make sure that they send it at what is best decided amongst those OEMs, or what we do is we restack those up front at our warehouse and store them in rackings. Now, rack is multi-layer rack is when you have imagine it's a housing system for pallets, just with levels 1 to 3 levels, and you cannot go as high as say whatever forklift you have. Generally, it's around 72 feet. So what happens is at a warehouse, we receive this product, we make sure it conforms to the US standards or the standards set by the final destination, and we store it in racks. And as and when we get demand or for those products, we take it out and we send it out.
Okay. Okay. So, what kind of skills do you require to do your jobs well?
So apart from the technical skills, when I mean you need to know the basic concepts of process improvement, supply chain management. And when I say this, you just need to know the basic concepts. You grow on this as you start working with this. But apart from this, people skills for me, like I work on a manufacturing floor. Now, when I'm working on a manufacturing floor, I work with shop floor people, I work with managers, I work with directors. So conversation with all these people, it's different at different levels. So you need to have good people skills. And one of the major things that I would mention is the entire Microsoft application, like the usage of Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Access, and Microsoft PowerPoint. This has been a huge tool for me, and like I would say it's a necessity. You should know these tools before you're entering the professional side towards this. Like you use this on a day-to-day basis for making tools out of Excel, for doing a lot of data analysis and going on. So this is one of the things that I would say it's a must necessity that everyone should know once you enter this field.
Okay, great. Anurag, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, he summed it up perfectly. It's
Okay.
apart from
Okay. Okay. So, the viewers, let me just remind you again that you have an option of asking questions. So, if you wanna say whatever questions you have, like please feel free to ask them, and we'll get them answered real time. Okay. So, so is there anything that you like, or yeah, is there anything in particular that you really enjoy about your jobs?
So I work in a field where it changes. Your requirement changes almost every single month, or sometimes even days, right? So it's the adaptability of how you handle those changes. I work in the e-commerce field, and so as and when demand fluctuates, it has its seasonality. Some days you might have people ordering 1,000 different stuff, and some days it's just like it's just going really low. Nobody's ordering So to have capacity, basically labor and space, adapt to that, make sure that as a company we are not in loss. So that's really exciting and that's really challenging.
Okay, okay, great. So, so both of you have done your masters in this in the US. Are there any application tips that you want to give to the viewers?
So I would just like to stress on the point, and this is something that I missed when I applied for my masters. So what I did was I majorly went to few websites to check out the rankings for industrial engineering colleges, like which colleges are in top 20 or top 30, and not giving much stress on the courses and not researching it with the students who are studying at that particular university. So this is the thing that I would stress on. Yeah, rankings, every website, they give it on different parameters. And at the end, like, if you're entering a decent university, if your coursework is good, if you have good experience, you will end up getting a decent job there. So my advice would be, now supply chain in general, industrial engineering in general, it's a pretty big field. So if you know what you really want to do, like something like warehousing and distribution, for example, NC State in particular has no course on warehousing and distribution for the entire master's course. They have nothing in particular. So whatever you learn is when you get your hands-on experience in a distribution warehousing world. As compared to this, Georgia Tech, they have a stress on the warehousing and distribution side. So if you know that what you want to do, I would say do a good research on the kind of courses that the university offers and speak to the seniors out there. They are the best resources to help you out with. So what you want to do, what university has to offer. So this is just the
Yeah.
advice that I would like to give.
Yeah, Abhishek, it's great to bring on this point because that is what Kazob is trying to do actually. We are trying to get all of these students who are doing different things, who have taken different career paths, and we are trying to get them to to share their experiences with the students. So, to the viewers, let me just mention that keep viewing the website of Kazob because we'll be constantly having new webinars up. Okay, so. Both of you have worked for around 3 or 4 years in the US. Uh, where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
My personal goal is to be a subject matter expert in warehouse and distribution. When I say subject matter expert, I want to be at a place where, be it any field, right now I'm in e-commerce, but when you go to manufacturing or in general, in general field, distribution and basically transport logistics, I want to be at a position where I can have command of what the knowledge that is there in the industry that time.
Okay, okay. So we have another question up. Again, it's by Brijesh. He asks, does a thesis or non-thesis course play a great role in job prospects? Is it better to take a non-thesis course so that we have more time in the second year to apply for jobs and interviews?
So yes and no. It differs from university to university, from course to course. So, like, yeah, from a job prospect, it depends. So, if you're doing a thesis in a particular area, suppose like you're doing a thesis in transport logistics, if you have done a thesis there, you are more or less you are subject matter of a particular thing within transport logistics now. So when you are in the job area, it's pretty clear that okay, you are concentrating towards transport logistics. That is what you like to do and you will like to do in future. So now it becomes easy to get a job there in transport logistics. Now, if you are not sure and you are just doing thesis for the sake of getting funding or like getting some money, I would say no. Instead of that, take up courses that will help you to streamline. Okay, this is the area that I like. These are the courses that I like, and this is where I would like to move forward in the future. So this is how I would go about. It doesn't matter from a job side majorly whether you are a thesis student or a non-thesis student.
Thesis is
Okay.
thesis is probably more academic oriented, where you're into research, and if you ever want to go to a PhD or get your postdoctoral in that field, you do a thesis. Else, what Abhishek said, you do a thesis in a field which you want to get, be an expert in and get a job going ahead in your career. A non-thesis is basically you are doing practical, say for example, you get practical exposure to subjects and may get a decent career or a good career ahead.
Yeah, I'll just like to add to Anurag's point here. So I had the option of either doing a thesis or doing a 6-month internship, a full-time internship in the industry. I preferred being in the industry because after my first year, I was still not quite sure where I want to exactly go. Like whether it's procurement, whether it's planning, whether it's process improvement, whether it's distribution and warehousing. Supply chain is very vast. So that 6 months gave me a lot more thing. Okay, yes, this is the things that you like. This is the things that you don't like. So a 6-month industrial, and it was real industrial exposure. Like I was working full time with a company out there. So that really
Okay,
helped.
great. Okay, so Abhishek, can you talk about where you see yourself 5 years from now? Like, what's the future career path for you?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier during my introduction, that I have like including internship and full-time jobs, I worked in US for around 3.5 years. I
Okay.
am finally back to India for good. I'll be starting to work with Accenture as strategy with their strategy and operations group. 5 years
Okay.
down the line, what I see myself doing is starting my own consulting company. Like I don't know exactly what area, but within supply chain and operations, I don't know whether it might be a subject matter expert of just one area or it might be end-to-end supply chain projects. So I want to do that, and right now work on couple of ideas that solving real world problems, like real world
Mhm.
problems that India is facing right now. There are a lot of opportunities out there, and we can use the tools that we have learned here and make processes more feasible and simple for everyone. So
Okay. Okay. So, Abhishek, first of all, congratulations on getting a job with Accenture. I think that's fantastic. Can you talk about your experience returning from the US? How have employers, and I'm sure you must have applied to a few jobs.
yeah.
So how do employers look at someone like you, who's returning from the US after like maybe 3, 4 years of working there?
So this process was pretty hectic for me. I had decided that I wanted to get to US somewhere around March, April 2015. And I started my job application process somewhere January, February 2015. And I was more of like, I would get a job with my experience and everything in US. It would be easy for me to get a job in India within a couple of months. But when I started the job process and everything, initially it was difficult for me to find the area where I wanted to go. Like I wanted
Okay.
to go more on the consulting side. There are, like, apart from the big companies, there are pretty few companies right now in the supply chain consulting world. Like in that particular niche consulting, there are very few companies if you look at US from that side.
Okay.
So then I started concentrating more towards consulting companies or companies like Flipkart, Amazon, consumer good companies. Now, this is the thing that I enjoyed working in US with consumer good. And it's fast, it's changing rapidly. You get to do a lot of things. So I wanted to remain in that domain. So that was the reason I started doing that. When I
Okay.
started approaching employers, initially I started applying on websites. I didn't get any replies or anything. Later on, Advait was a big resource for me here when I started chatting with Advait about this, and he helped me out with a lot of connection that he had. He put me in touch with people, and that is area where I realized, okay, I need to reach out to people who are in this domain and connect with them directly instead of applying for jobs directly. And then later on, what happened was, even if the company's department, like even if they didn't have a particular position or something, and they required someone, what they were ready to do with the experience and everything, and with the exposure back in US, they were ready to create a position within department also. There were companies that were ready to create a position within the department also. They are like you are going to get a lot of exposure, international exposure that you have. And also apart from that, one of the biggest factors that most of the employers stressed on was the accountability factor. They are like, it is the biggest thing that lacks amongst the employees here in India, the accountability factor. No one is accountable for, like, if someone takes up a duty, no one fulfills it with the deadline, with the quality that is required. Like, there are very few people who do it, so they are like, they want that change thing to happen and they are expecting that out of me. So that was something that they stressed upon. And also the different experience that I had in US helped me a lot here when I was approaching different companies.
Okay, great. So Anurag, like you were mentioning something about become a subject matter expert. Can you talk? So, like, is that with the intention of coming back to India in the future?
Yes, definitely, because I the work that I do in US right now, it's more on part of it is pricing to companies to sell services for distribution centers, and I would definitely like to come back here in the next couple of years and make sure that I can apply those skills up here, because that market here is still outsourced and you still have original equipment manufacturers like Apple or Dell that come, they send representatives from US to make contracts for distribution centers up in India and or for that matter China. So I definitely want to come back here and make sure set up something where I can apply these skills that I've learned. And
Okay. Okay. So, like, do you guys, so what do you all feel about the supply chain industry in India? Uh, like, where do you see it going?
So I would say supply chain in India right now, it's in nascent stages. It's still at a very rudimentary level. So for example, when you go out in the market, you talk about a warehouse to someone. For them, it's still just a location to store goods. They don't realize the importance of warehouse and distribution in the entire supply chain. Companies like Flipkart, Amazon in India, they are changing this culture now. They are bringing in the importance, like how important a warehouse and distribution plays, like in cost cutting, in delivering service and everything. So things are changing. Tons of opportunities in whatever you want to do from a supply chain side, end-to-end supply chain. You talk about designing a warehouse, you talk about working with suppliers, you talk about process improvement in a manufacturing floor, in a distribution environment. It's pretty rudimentary here right now. It's lot of things can be done here. Lot of things can be done here.
Okay. Okay, great. So I just like to remind the viewers again that please ask questions. Okay, we'll take another question. Uh, what are other students with your background doing? So you have done your production engineering and then you have done industrial engineering. So let's keep the production engineering part aside. Like, what are the different things that people with a master's in industrial engineering are doing currently?
so a lot of students that we know have gone into consulting. Now that's not saying exactly in consulting and supply chain, but they act as a bridge between your customers and your tech side, right? So what we understand from that is it's basically to help understand businesses, not necessarily be it supply chain, but in any field, finance, be it in entertainment. It's people have gone out and they have worked as a liaison between the customer and the say for example developers. So we have a lot of our peers who are working in that area. A lot of our peers are working in core manufacturing processes, and some of them have even gone and started their own businesses.
Okay. Okay.
Like, just to add to Anurag's point, as he mentioned about the consulting side. So when we are talking about the consulting side here, supply chain consulting is completely a different aspect. Like, people are going towards that too. But I would say around 10 to 15% of our batch, they went up, started working for companies like Deloitte, EY, and that was the business analyst role that they took up. So where they are just acting as, like, helping the customer demand, like making them making the developers understand what the customer wants and developing the product accordingly and making sure it is the product that customer needs. Apart
Okay.
from that, there are core areas like supply chain planning, wherein you talk about your buyers, the purchasing operations, the procurement operation that comes within supply chain planning, the scheduling. So a lot of people go just into supply chain planning. It's a pretty big field.
Okay.
People just go towards that. There's a new upcoming field called automation and robotics within this industry, within the manufacturing process improvement. So like all the process improvement that I spoke about, it was more from an operations side. There are people who end up doing a lot of process improvement using automation
Okay.
of machine equipments, building robots and all those stuff. So a lot of areas to go about after your industrial engineering.
Okay, great. So we have another question. Adit is asking, so we got Adit asking, what are the other fields beside industrial engineering for MS for a production student?
I mechanical, that is one of the fields that people take up.
Okay.
Then, as I mentioned about automation, right? So there is a master's in automation that can be done right after production engineering.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That
Great.
you can concentrate. There is people have started doing masters in MIS, that's management
Right.
information systems, where you do a
Right.
lot of data analysis. It's more on the analytics side. So
Yeah.
these are a few of
Okay.
the fields.
And to add to it, there you can have MBA strictly. You can do an MBA strictly in this field, basically supply
Okay.
chain management.
Okay.
Or
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so Adit, I'd just like to mention that there are people doing different things like Abhishek mentioned. People are doing MIS. I know people who are doing uh, uh, a master's in marketing analytics. I know people who are doing a master's in aeronautical engineering.
Yep.
So we will definitely be covering all of these guys. So like, please stay tuned to the Kazob website.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
great. So
also,
yeah,
I just wanted to add here. So one of the coolest things about studying in US is like, so when I decided I wanted to pursue my masters, I wanted to do something in operations research. Like I was pretty keen on going towards operations research. I went there. In my first semester, I realized that I don't have the right basics that is needed to complete a master's course in operations research. So it was pretty easy for me to switch towards the supply chain and the process improvement side. So this is the flexible part that you get when you are going there for your master's. It might be
okay.
you can switch towards statistics, you can switch towards analytics, it depends.
Okay, okay, great. So any parting words, any advice on a general basis?
yes, in general, what the biggest takeaway for me in my journey from being a student, from engineering to being a working professional is one, don't hesitate to reach out to people. Be more open, be more receptive, uh, be be a keen observer of what is going around you, because in the end we all just want to be able to do something that we like, and it's a great thing if you are open to all avenues that are there for the taking.
Okay, okay,
And if you are really planning on going for your master's or higher studies, my advice would be that if you really want to do a course, then go for it. So like you can trust me, you can easily sail through your masters by taking up courses that you don't have to work at all on, and you can get a good 4 on 4 GPA and you can sail through your masters. But my advice would be enjoy the learning curve that you have during your masters. Like take up courses that you really like, that you really want to work on, and like care about your GPA, but at the end, it's the knowledge that you're getting from the courses
right,
that you have taken that matters. GPA doesn't
right.
matter once you're done with your graduation, once you have a job. No one talks about your GPA.
Okay, great. So we have another question actually that's come up. Again, it's from Adit. He's asking, which is the preferable job path after BE? Like, should we take up a job or should we continue with a master's? So, let me just add to it, if I may. Adit, that is very, very relative. Like that depends on your interest. That depends on what you want out of life. Like if you want a safe job, you know, or like, do you want to become like a subject matter expert and stuff? So I think that depends a lot on what you want out of life and what you want out of your career. You know, it's not only about what is the hottest job out there. You know, like a job can be all, as hot as it can, but if you're not good at it, there's no point in doing it. You know, so yeah, so I think it's very relative. Would you guys like to say anything about it?
Yeah, as in, from my point, it was I went as a fresher, so I always thought I should have at work for a while. But I have peers who worked for a while and they came back and they used to say I should have come, just when I was fresh out of my undergrad. So
Okay.
to Advait's point, it's very relative. It depends on person to person, and it's what you want to seek out as a career path that you want.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I think those are really good words to end this webinar with. Abhishek and Anurag, thanks a lot for taking time out and coming and talking to the viewers. Uh, I hope you also enjoyed. Uh, and
Yes, definitely.
yeah, and to the viewers, on the same page that you are on currently, there's a form that asks for your feedback on this webinar. So please give your feedback so that we can improve so that we can improve our product next time. And if you are interested in any particular in any particular career, please go to kazob.com and go to the your interests page in which you can fill up like a small form. It takes like a minute to fill it out so that we can send you relevant updates of webinars. Okay, so thanks guys, thanks everybody for participating, and yeah, and best of luck.
Thank you, Advait. All the best, guys.
Thank you.